Welcome back to Increased Lifestyle. It's a great day to have a great day. And on this day of greatness, we might as well be great. For today is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for blessing our video with your presence. Me and Isis greatly appreciates it. Today, I just want to give a brief rundown on the Daniel fast, in which I just released a video yesterday about my experience and how it went with it. But I did want to do more of a broader overview, kind of explaining everything that went into it. So first, I want to learn more about Daniel and what went into the fast. So there's several accounts in the Bible regarding how Daniel fasted throughout the Bible, and more specifically the reasons of why he fasted as well. Him trying to humble himself before God and receive clarity, specifically in times when he was in need. That sacrifice was done. As far as what was allowed to be eaten on the Daniel fast, consisted of vegetables, fruits, nuts, beans. I could do brown rice, whole wheat pasta, almond milk, but it had to be unsweetened, as well as some other things. I could do oils and spices, all of that was fine. As far as restrictions goes, there was no meat, dairy, no eggs, absolutely no sugar. Couldn't do bread because there's no yeast, no processed food. So everything that I did eat had to come from the ground. In present day terms, it was kind of like being a plant-based vegan, essentially. Protein powders and things like that was out of the question, just because a lot of that stuff is processed and contains sugar and things that weren't allowed on the Daniel fast. Starting off, my very first grocery trip, I went and I spent over $100 specifically on produce alone. It was very weird to me, very different. I've never spent that much money on produce, so definitely a new experience. And one thing that I found, that because I was only eating vegetables and fruits, usually sometimes if I get a pepper or some onions and I chop them up and use them in a few dishes, sometimes that onion or pepper, half onion, will kind of get left in the fridge and go uneaten. So I found myself always finishing every single vegetable or fruit I'd ever bought. It never had the opportunity to go bad. And for things that I did have a little bit excess of, that I wasn't just using quite a way, I could always freeze it. Why did I do the Daniel fast? I'd say the past year, speaking of 2022, just wasn't the best. More specifically health-wise. I felt like I was always battling uphill, going against something. In November kind of sparked the downhill of a lot of things. I was rushed to the emergency room during that month. I was told that I couldn't work out for 3 months. So from November all the way till early February, I did absolutely no working out. Doctors were putting me through tons of tests, specifically for my heart. I was doing echocardiogram, CAT scans, stress tests, you name it, whatever test there was, I did it specifically for the heart. And as well as that's when I was diagnosed with having high blood pressure. They put me on a medicine to kind of bring my blood pressure down. My resting heart rate was very high, cholesterol was very high. So just I'd say a huge amount of information being thrown at me all at one time. I remember going into a doctor's appointment, them prescribing me some medicine to kind of calm my heart down, telling me, hey, yeah, you're 23 years old, but we need you to go out and buy a blood pressure cup and monitor your blood pressure and kind of send us the numbers to make sure that your blood pressure isn't getting too high, and nor is your heart rate getting too low. The thing with the medicine is if your heart rate gets a little too low, it could be an alarming thing. So that was a lot. And in that same meeting with them, that's also when I found out that I had a bulging disc in my back that was pressing on my nerve, that was giving me this irritating pain for quite some time. That's when I found out I had degenerative disc changes in my back, as well as having some arthritis, and as well as finding out that I had a tear in my groin, kind of at the bottom of my abdomen where the muscles kind of connect to the pelvis. So a ton of information being thrown at me all at one time, and I was just fighting my hardest to kind of stay above water, essentially. I ended up cutting all my hair off. At first I had long twists kind of going down towards my neck. I cut all my hair off because I needed something new. I needed something different. I was tired of looking at myself in the mirror every single day and seeing that beaten up, broken person that just was trying to fight to survive. So one of the main reasons of me starting the Daniel fast diet was, for one, I needed healing. I still need healing. I don't think I'll ever not need healing, but that was probably the biggest thing. Is physically I needed healing, and more so psychologically as well. I felt like a lot of people who go through things, yes, their physical might be affected, but the psychological aspect usually is more damaged just going through those experiences. So that was one thing, is just trying to keep myself up. It was a ton of times I was going to work just trying to fake a smile just to get through the day, crying myself to sleep, crying in the shower and things like that, of wondering why me, wondering why can't I continue to do the things that I love? Why is it that sports might not be in the question, or why is sports questionable for me in the future? So healing was the number one thing. I felt like I needed spiritual reconnection, just reconnecting with God. I feel like in this world that we live in, there's tons of distractions earthly distractions being placed in our way every single day, every single minute. There's a new video, there's a new trend, there's a new object, it's a ton of things, a ton of information being thrown at us at once. And those distractions tend to pile up, and you forget the true things that matter. You forget why you're here. You forget your purpose. Even obligations, bills, work, things that you have to do, things that you have to take care of, responsibilities. Yes, there are responsibilities that have to be done, but essentially, why must that cloud the image that we have in our mind? Why must that cloud the purpose of why we're here? And it shouldn't. So that was another thing, is I needed that spiritual reconnection to reconnect with God, and for him to kind of bring me back down to earth, because I feel like we get caught up in our own problems, struggles. How did the Daniel fast go in general? I feel like it went really well. First off, in the beginning, my energy was pretty good. But you have to understand, when you're eating fruits and vegetables and that's it, the question of calories comes into play. Essentially, if you look at the back of a bag of broccoli, you will see that there's roughly 20 to 25 calories per serving. The bag only holds about 5 to 6 servings. And if you eat that whole bag, that'd probably be roughly around 100 calories. The average person needs 1,500. Depending on your body, it may be more. Me specifically, weighing out as much as I do, I needed roughly 18 to 1,900 calories in order to just get through the day. Just on my normal day basis, how many calories my body burns just by sitting here, I need roughly around 18 to 1,900 calories. So going into it from a scientific standpoint and an exercise science background, I went into it understanding that this is not something that should be done long term, but I understood that there would be some consequences to it. But again, this is the reason for sacrifice. So going into it, I felt meals were great. I never had a problem with making specific meals. I think even me, since I was young, I never had a problem with eating the same thing every single day. I used to meal prep in high school and even in college, and even now after college, I do different meal prepping where I just kind of have my meals made out for the week, and I can eat the same thing numerous days in a row. So that never bothered me, but it was more so the calorie aspect of me not getting as much as I needed. So with the calories, I started off with decent energy, and because I'm eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, fiber's really high. I mean, grains, so fiber is good. So digestively, that was probably the best I felt, especially after doing it digestively. Just bowel movements and things like that was a lot smoother. But the problem persists, like I said, with the calories. So starting from when I began, I did 21 days on the fast. I started out around 200 to 205 pounds, and I finished off at 187 pounds. I ended up getting as low as 180 pounds in the middle of it. So a considerable amount of weight overall, roughly losing around 20 pounds of weight in 21 days is not healthy. I must say that it is not healthy. But again, it was more so the factor of giving up something. If you know me, you know I love food. I'm big in food. I love sweets as well. So that was more so a thing for me, and something that I could actually sacrifice and get some type of meaning out of it. So weight-wise, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I'm a personal trainer. That's what I do as my main job. So when I speak about things and diet with people, and people ask me, oh, what are you doing recently? So if I tell them more about that Daniel fast, they're like, oh, that's what I need to do. I can lose weight fast. And I always say, no. Under no circumstance should you do that specifically to lose weight. I did it for more of a religious purpose. And it still wasn't okay, but again, it was the reason of why. But as I continued during the fast, I mean, of course, it's going to get more challenging as the days go by. Your energy starts to drop a little bit lower just because the less calories you have over and over again. And now I mentioned to you guys that, of course, I wasn't working out at this time either. So that probably helped me a little bit. When you work out and you're running or jogging or lifting weights, you're actually burning calories. So me not being able to work out may have made that a little bit of a better decision at that time, because I wasn't losing extra calories by exhausting myself doing physical activity. So that actually might have benefited me while I was doing the Daniel fast. I think the biggest thing was realizing that as times get harder, to continue to pray and rely on God. That's the main reason for the sacrifice, acknowledging that He is greater and trying to humble yourself before Him. So I found myself, during my hardest times, still praying and asking Him to continue to push me through. There was a time that I ended up vomiting at work and defecating on myself, and I had to end up going home early that day. And I don't think it had anything to do with the fast. I think it was more so on just different medicine that I was taking at the time. Like I said, going to the doctors and things like that. But again, when you enter a state like that, for one, you're losing more nutrients and fluids and things like that. And then after a situation like that, you don't want to eat or drink anything either. So it was another hiccup down the road in which I needed more. It was another hiccup down the road in which I needed to pray even harder, rely on that faith even more during that sacrifice. So I felt like as those challenges persisted, it was just my duty to kind of remain stuck on that one goal. I don't think it was hard to commit to it just because of how much I had already went through beforehand. I think commitment is another big thing that people have to decide of. Is this something that I want to do? Or is it something I can withhold for the full challenge? If I'm doing 21 days, can I withhold with that same 21 days? I think that was a big thing, is because I had went through so much pain and so much heartache and crying all those nights. I feel like that's what was carrying me through. I needed something to hold on to. I needed something to believe in, and that is what gave me that purpose to believe into it, to believe in something. I felt like that fast gave me purpose essentially during that time in my life. There was temptations, I must say, plenty of times, especially being in the house with someone and watching my girlfriend make shrimp Alfredo and garlic and cheese and seeing all the things that I typically miss on a normal day basis. Man, that definitely made it hard. But that made me go even, that made me pray even harder at the end of the day. And understanding why I'm doing this, understanding why I want that spiritual reconnection, why I want to receive that healing. That is what is going to carry me through the faith. As far as moving forward with my diet, I feel like I learned a lot of things during the Daniel fast, which things I can continue to take forward as I continue to live. So for one, I still, even though I cut out butter initially through the fast, that's one thing that I still continue to stay without. Sugar is another big thing. So yes, I like sweets, but I tend to limit them only on the weekends. And then when it comes to different sauces, I don't think people realize how much sugar like a normal everyday pasta sauce will contain. So just being a little bit more cognizant of things like that. So I don't typically go for the same normal pasta sauce that has all the sugar in it. Usually I'll do like a tomato puree, which you can buy from the store, or you can puree your own tomatoes if you want to save a little bit of money. Yeast is another big thing that I've kind of stayed away from as well. So during that time, I couldn't eat any bread, or I couldn't even have a tortilla wrap. So a big thing for me is I ended up finding a recipe to make my own tortillas. You can actually look on my channel. I have a couple shorts of different recipes that I did during the time, and I'll probably post a little bit more of stuff that I did during the Daniel fast and stuff that I continue to do. But those little recipes kind of carried me through when times I couldn't have certain things, and I've kind of developed a liking for them, and it's healthier, so why not continue to eat those things? Even peanut butter was another big one. I loved peanut butter, but because of the sugar, I can't eat regular peanut butter. So I ended up adopting to a natural peanut butter with no sugar. So with that, it is a little bit more oily, doesn't taste nearly as sweet. And I actually developed a liking towards that type of peanut butter before. My mom ended up buying me some normal peanut butter after that, and the taste of it was way too sweet. It was way too dense as far as sugar. I couldn't even consume it. So that's another change of me sticking with a non-sugar peanut butter makes all the difference. As far as my foods go, I still try to lean towards more of the fast. But since then, I have added in meat just because it's not realistic to not have that protein. You need that protein in order to build the muscle and conserve your muscle. So I've definitely added in meat again, as well as eggs and working in different things like that, but still keeping that base of vegetables and a good amount of fruits in my daily diet is something that I definitely tend to stick with as I move forward. And like I said, digestively and energy-wise in the beginning of the fast, I feel like those fruits and vegetables were definitely kicking in and helping me tremendously. For spiritual changes, I know I made a ton of growth. I feel like at certain points in my life, we tend, or in anyone's life, I feel like we tend to drift away a little bit, which is normal. I mean, we're human, but we want to limit that as much as possible and stay God-fearing and keeping him as close to us as possible. But I feel like sometimes I tend to drift away a little bit and getting caught up, like I said, in those distractions and understanding that just because you're going through something, that's the time when you need to dig a little bit deeper. That's the time when your faith should grow a little bit stronger. So I feel like every situation that I encounter in my life, from being injured my junior year of college and me actually creating Increase and creating this platform and creating this actual channel for people to see and actually receive some type of motivation, some type of inspiration in their lives, from me losing my grandfather that same exact year, from me transitioning to trying to play as much as possible and do the best I could on my senior year of college, and me going through all the adversity that I had spent there, from finding out that I played that whole season with a bulging disc with degenerative changes and arthritis in my back, and having a torn muscle in my groin, to having a possible heart condition. Every single thing that we encounter in life is not only supposed to make us stronger, but it grows our faith. It grows our faith. I love the phrase tested faith, because faith untested really doesn't mean anything. If you believe in something but it never gets hard, essentially, do you really believe in it? If I never had to rely on it, if I say, oh, okay, I love God, but I never had to rely on him, is that real faith? I feel like your faith is truly developed when you're tested, when you actually go through things that form you into the person that you are, those things that are life-threatening, life-changing, when your faith is most needed and it gets tested. to me, that is the true faith that we're all trying to accumulate, all trying to chase after and obtain, and grow stronger each and every day. So I feel like that was one of the biggest changes I felt. Was it was another opportunity for me to test my faith and rely on my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And lastly, my body changes. Of course, like I mentioned, I lost close to 20 pounds. Not healthy. Don't recommend doing it for that aspect. But since then, I have made some more changes. Like I said, reintroducing more things into my diet and even working out more. Thank you, Jesus. I'm able to work out now. So that was a big thing in making those changes. So all I ask is that you embark on your own journey and give yourself the gift of sacrifice. So spend time. It doesn't have to be food. I feel like a fast in general from anything that you feel like is important to your life and actually would be some sort of sacrifice from giving it up to grow closer to Jesus. So give it a try. And please drop comments down below if you've done a fast this year. So all this happened in January, but I'm getting back on my feet, getting more videos out. So I'm just glad I got to publish all that film that I did accumulate over time. But yeah, life is good, man. Life is good. Continue to keep me in your prayers, and I'll do the same for you. Please like, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful day. God bless.